damned if any African Guinea man is gonna make me lose all I've been working for. Now you take my meaning?
Wow, man, that clip right there deserves a round of applause. That voice,
Absolutely.
that goes back to 1977. I was here, Heather B, as a youth, watching this
Yes.
mini-series called Roots.
Right.
And that series alone really just made me feel so empowered and inquisitive and curious, and made me feel brave. And I felt like I was learning something about our history that the history books wasn't teaching us. And starring as Fiddler was the Academy Award winning actor. You know him from Raising in the Sun, The Landlord, Skin Games, Travel with My Aunt, The Laughing Policeman. Just recently nominated for a Primetime Emmy for his outstanding supporting actor role in the limited series Watchmen. And we have him on the show today, man. I know I could go home and say I made it because he's on our show. The one and only Louis Gossett Jr., ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Gossett, welcome to the show.
How y'all doing?
Here.
How y'all doing?
We're good.
Doing
Man,
great.
We face already. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, man. Hey, man, how can we not? You Brooklyn born too, right?
Absolutely, Coney Island.
Yes.
But every
Wow.
summer was down here in the South growing a watermelon.
Growing the watermelon. Where at in the South?
Down in outside of Athens. And my specialty was yellow meat watermelon. My cousin had other watermelons. And they were so popular that the trucks would back up and take them all and put them on the train, go up the Eastern Seaboard, and we could find our watermelons in some of the top restaurants in the Eastern Sea. So I don't know what secret he had, but they were the best tasting watermelons I've ever had in my life.
Really? Okay, cool. So you were selling watermelon as a youth?
Yeah, well, I was growing them, and then we'd put a thumbnail print on our personal watermelon, and we'd see them in the restaurants all up and down the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Man,
and
damn,
them
you
watermelons had seeds in them, too, I'm sure.
That's right. So my specialty was yellow meat watermelon. It's got a very short shelf life, but it's the sweetest fruit there is in the world. Obviously, it got from Africa some kind of way.
It came from Africa some kind of way.
But I just want to tell you, the raps that I hear everywhere, good and bad, gives you young folks, you've taken over the world. You're in commercials, you're in movies, you're number one. People listen to you. So that is a reconnection of the way we spoke to one another. Not in books and not in radio and stuff, but we used to rap, which is an extension of an African prayer. And everything that's going on in our minds, you can hear about it on a daily basis. You have my compliments. I'm all ears when I hear that.
Thank you, Mr. Gossett. You got that from Louis Gossett Jr., man. Come on, man. Round of applause. He's down for hip-hop. He's down for hip-hop. That's how we tell our stories.
It right back to the surface.
Absolutely. It came from a people who was disenfranchised and didn't have proper representation, so we made our own, and it comes from our own. I'm glad you pointed out that history. I want to talk about, because we're going to talk about history. The Cuban, the movie in itself is just such a phenomenal movie, and I want to come to that. And I love the scoring, the music, the history, the culture that's being exposed in this movie. But I want to go back to 1977 and just for a brief moment talk about Roots, because a series like that now seemed like it would be needed in this country. And I remember watching it as a kid, and I couldn't believe, even as a kid, how much time black faces were getting on network TV. What was the environment back then in Hollywood? Was there any resistance of this story, this Alex Haley story, being told? What was the environment like in Hollywood at that time?
There's a powerful vibration that when we get a chance to do our stuff, we fill the theaters. Started in music and in sports and stuff. And that vibration originated in the African marketplace. So that when you take it, you shut it off. As soon as it gets opportunity to open up, it hits everybody. Everybody drops what they're doing to watch and listen. So that they put Roots on television, afraid that they're going to lose the southern market. So they put it on 7 straight days without stop. And what happened? The entire world stopped to listen to Roots. So take that, as you young folks, take that as a signal that you should go back and dig into those roots You'll find out that when the explorers came, and I'm not a black nationalist at all. This is just reality. We represent the oldest culture in the history of civilization. And so when the explorers came, we were practicing animal husbandry, astronomy, medicine, mysticism, music, and so they had to catch up. They figured if we let this happen, they're going to run the world. There's no such thing. There's nothing but mankind. And we've been here longer than anybody else. And we're going to be desperately needed for our mutual salvation. So think that and say that every day when you wake up, and be of benevolence to anybody who's scared of you, and lead us all to our mutual salvation. There's nothing else but that.
Wow. Louis Gossett Jr. I was, we had Leslie Odom, and thank you for these words. Leslie Odom Jr., who played William Steele in the movie, the remake of Harriet that came out last year. And we were talking about, because the making of Harriet Tubman, the story, that the way it was told, a lot of people criticize scenes, what they call slave movies nowadays. They don't want to see those images. They feel like that story is repeated over and over again on the big screen, and it's just implanting images of us being in an inferior place at a time.
We can see it, but it makes us feel bad, but the truth is the truth. There are other stories to tell. I agree and disagree. We have to see it all.
We have to see it all. So talk about that.
We have to see it all. But besides seeing the slave movies, we also see some other things, like Black Panther, which is why it is the biggest money-making movie in the history of movies. So we can see the slave movies, but we can also see Black Panther. We can also see This Is It. This Is Us, rather. We also see who is in front of us on the screens in sports and in law and politics and medicine. So we could see the full circle of things and figure out who we really are, what we have to contribute to the benefit of us all.
Okay. How about that? Louis Gossett Jr. is here. You bring up Black Panther. I'll be remiss not to bring up The Punisher, which you starred in. I got to bring that up. And it was one of the first films based on a Marvel comic book character. And then you did Howard the Duck, too. And I brought up Watchmen because I watch Watchmen. Regina King is a citizen of our show. She's been on our show, and it's based on the DC comics. And
I love it.
Yeah, she's incredible, right?
Emmy nominated, Oscar,
Yeah.
She's amazing.
And we just announced that you were nominated for a Primetime Emmy on this. Did you expect this explosion in popularity of superhero-based films and TV shows?
I was very pleasantly surprised. Very pleasant. So this makes my third possible Emmy. I've got two. One for daytime, the other one for nighttime. And now here comes the third one.
Hello.
Yeah, so God is in charge. You mentioned him a lot. I keep mentioning him. God is in charge. And all we have to do is clear the passage to get his message on a daily basis. And we can get in the passenger seat of the car, let God drive the car, and everything will be okay.
Louis Gossett Jr., man. I feel good, man. I feel like I'm at the Sunday sermon right now, Heather B.
Wow. Yes. No, this is beautiful.
But it's got to go through the rest of the week, don't it?
Yeah, man. Yes, indeed. Go ahead, Bizzle.
Yeah. You're better than you told you are, brother. You're better than you told you.
Oh,
that's
thank
real.
you, sir. Mr. Gossett.
Wow. Yeah, Mr. Gossett, thank you. Hi, this is Heather, and thank you again for joining us. It's also interesting. I was telling a friend of mine that you were joining us today on the show, and the first thing he said, yo, let him know, man, Lincoln Rail Splitters, I'm splendid. I'm an alum of Abraham Lincoln as well. He went to Lincoln in Brooklyn.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I had to tell you that. And also, I was pleasantly surprised because you mentioned watermelon, and I love to cook, as you know, for therapeutic reasons, and I came across a recipe for watermelon rind preserves, and I know that may sound crazy to a lot of people.
No, not to me. Not to me.
I know. Well, I know that you know this, and you have a connection because I got this recipe from a book that I'm reading called Vibrations Cooking by Miss Vertime Smart Grosvenor.
Oh, boy, she was in my original rip company.
Yes.
And my aunt and Richard Pryor. They were in my before NBC.
Yes, so that's what I was going to bring up. Like, I was so surprised reading her book. Your name pops up in her book, Sway and Citizens of Sway in the Morning, that she mentions that you were her acting teacher for a minute, and that you were given a grant to teach these classes, and you guys would travel all around the world. And there was something called GATA, the Gossett Academy of
Academy of
Dramatic
Dramatic Arts.
Arts. Yeah, would you mind speaking on that? I had no idea. I was so surprised when I saw this in a cookbook. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Can you speak on that?
Are you still here? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we had it. It was a couple of years before NEC, but that was the nucleus of NEC who came to work with me. James Earl Jones was one of my teachers. I had Cicely Tyson. I had Richard Pryor in my company, Verda. I had Abby Lincoln, and the parties were incredible with Richie Havens and all those particular people. And all of a sudden, we did it with $17,000. I broke up 2 fighting gangs every summer, the Latins, the Dragons, and I can't remember the other group. But I made sure that they went to a party rather than have a rumble. And some of those people went into show business, Gregory Sierra, people like that. But all of a sudden, I'm very proud to have the ability to plant a seed in somebody going in the wrong direction so they can go in the right direction. It seems to be our elders' job. So it's important. And if you do that and your system gets smooth, you have a tendency to stay around quite a while. I have a great-grandmother who died at the age of 117, approximately. And so she kept African roots with her. So there was a rheumatic fever outburst in Brooklyn. Polio was one thing, rheumatic fever was another. And my temperature went up above 103 degrees. She went out in the garden and got some yam. I don't know what she did with the yam. It took about 20 minutes. It smelled terrible. But she mashed it up and put it in a sock and put it on my feet, almost too hot. When she put it on my feet, my temperature was 103.5. When she took the sock off, 5 hours later, I was cured. You know where that came from. Didn't come from slavery, did it? And it's happening to us, around us all the time. I'm not pro-black. I'm just saying Black Lives Matter. You know that.
Yes.
So it's not dangerous for us to know who we are, because we can be instrumental in the salvation of us all. It's a different vibration. So I'm standing here at 84 when I'm not supposed to be here, and some of my contemporaries are not supposed to be here because of those African roots and that feeling of being needed for the salvation of us all.
Yes.
Louis Gossett Jr. is here. Tracy, you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, hey, Louis, thank you again for joining us. Truly, truly an honor. Knowing where you're from, I've read that you, according to DNA analysis, that you descended from Liberia and Sierra Leone. And we had a conversation with one of our citizens earlier who was also able to trace through his ancestry where his biological family's from. He's adopted. And it's just during this quarantine time that he was, through the knowledge, he was able to have a sense of liberation and communion, you know, and really understand himself much better. Can you speak about when you found out exactly where you are from, you know, beyond this country, the type of emotion it brings to you, the importance of that, and why maybe other people should do it as well, regardless if you're black or not, because none of us are from here.
I highly recommend. We're going to be sitting around the table of diversity. That means every race, every religion is going to sit there trying to volunteer on how we can save everybody, right? Now, there's the young black warrior sitting there here in Georgia or anywhere else. I realized that he had some information taken from him, so all he can speak about is maybe just before slavery, or maybe on the slave ship. But he represents the oldest culture, so so he can replace all of that, be proud of it, not be upset that it's been taken away, because it has not been taken away, and be instrumental in our mutual survival. That is our role. We are a program of attraction. As you can see, it's happening now in sports, it's happening in radio, it's happening in movies, because now we're taking a natural position in this world for the benefit of all of us. That is our job. No time for anger. No time for resentment. Only time to re-lead us to a mutual salvation. It feels good to feel that way and act 24/7 that way. Because all of a sudden, when you run down the street now, nobody's going to shoot you. They're going to hug you.
Right.
Louis Gossett Jr. Wow, it's a lot of gems falling from this tree right now. And I want to keep on a subject of history because there's a movie that's coming out on the 31st called The Cuban. And
Tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Huh?
That's tomorrow. And I'm going to play a clip of it.
Tomorrow's the 30th.
When is the 31st? Friday the 31st. I'm going to play a clip from it real quick. And I'm curious to anybody who love Cuban culture, musicianship, music, especially jazz. If you've been to Cuba, call us. This is a movie you want to see. 888-742-3345. Here's a piece of it real quick.
His name is Luis, and he used to be this famous musician back in Cuba. He even played the Cotton Club. He played with Bauza, Machito, Dizzy Gillespie.
And he told you all of this?
Did you really play with all these people?
Teachers. We teach people how to love. Huh?
Yeah, man. This movie, I didn't know what to expect. I just went in it knowing that you were a part of it, Mr. Gossett. And immediately, the thing I noticed from the opening credits was the aesthetic of the movie, the graphics that they use to even roll the credits in the beginning of the film. I knew at that moment that, wow, they put a lot of love and care into this. And then even the scoring of the music.
In that art, it's called Afro-Cuban, by the way.
Okay. Afro-Cuban?
Afro-Cuban. And so who discovered it from Cuba was Dizzy Gillespie. You remember that name?
Dizzy Gillespie, yeah. Uh-huh.
He brought it out of Cuba to the world. Afro-Cuban, Afro-jazz, Cuban jazz. And I went to high school listening to all that music. So my heroes were Tito Puente, Tito Rodriguez, Machito, Willie Bobo, and then it went from there.
Willie Bobo.
Straight from
okay.
Africa. Yeah.
You know who I also like? Sandoval, the trumpet player.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I grew up playing saxophone and bass clarinet, and so the Afro-Cuban sounds was a little more advanced. You couldn't just pick up your instrument and play that. You know, it wasn't about what was on the paper. On this, you play Luis Garcia, which is an interesting character because Luis Garcia is a famous, Afro-Cuban musician who is also suffering from Alzheimer's and is having a problem connecting with his past until this nurse assistant came in and start caring, and it's interesting because we've all had to care for elders in our families. That's just a tradition of ours. And
absolutely.
Right. And I found that dynamic really interesting because you don't see that play out a lot. But I feel like the dynamic between you and Anna was really important, who played Nina, to establish that relationship. Can you speak to that?
Well, there's the same example of her getting fed by bringing this man back to life. She got fed soul and music and feelings. She dug for gold, but she got it. Afro-Cuban was discovered by, as I said before, Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington, and brought around the world. And there was a reconnection of our African roots from the dark continent. Anytime that happens, look at basketball. Look at everywhere. We are extremely important, and we are of benevolence in what we have to offer the whole. So the more we get to that, the more we can not waste our time being upset about what we don't have, because we have. It's less. When we fight, it's less than we deserve. We have a bigger issue, and it's a mutual salvation. Music is one, sports is another, education is another, medicine is another. Look at it all and sit down with a book, all you young folks, and realize how powerful you can be. We need you desperately.
What was it about this role that appealed to you? Because
he came to life. He represents the roots. Africa was the only roots that came from Africa was slavery, and Cuba was symbolic of that holdout. So was Haiti. And so the roots were very strong. When Castro came in, he shut the clubs down. That's why Luis left.
Mm-hmm.
But he still had those roots deep inside of his Alzheimer's body to bring it back to life so he could live that life one more time before he left the planet. I had to grab that part.
Yeah. The first few scenes, you never even muttered a word. It was just all sound and expression. And
Absolutely.
And that created enough dialogue for you to be able to follow along, which I thought was really powerful. But also, I've dealt with Alzheimer's in my own family, and there's still no medicines that could cure it. You know what I mean? And a lot of us.
It's not pharmaceutical medicine that's going to cure it. It's like this girl figured out what is going to cure it. Smells from the good old days, sounds, touches, and they come right on back. I had a great grandmama, I told you, and she only lied to me one time, brother. She said, "This is going to hurt me more. It's going to hurt you."
That was the only one.
That's hilarious.
That's the only lie she ever told me.
This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. What did you
only have to say it once.
Yeah.
Of course, brothers like a hard head makes a soft behind.
Yeah, man. Did she whip you with a switch, or what was it that she did it with?
A switch, and I had to go pick the switch.
Yeah. Look, man, I had to pick switches too. My great auntie was from Louisiana, and so whenever I had to take an L for the team, she used to have me go pick the switch. Man, let me tell you something, Mr. Gossett. I used to, for some reason, pick the best switches there. I took pride in the switches I picked. I didn't understand that, though.
What makes a great switch?
Didn't Grandma make you go and get it? If it wasn't strong enough, she made you go back and get one that was stronger. You may as well stop that all. You may go get the strong one in the first place.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just did it. I thought maybe I'll score points. Tracy, I'm not going to answer that question. What makes a good switch? But I will ask this question. What did you learn about Alzheimer's, having to study up for this role? You know,
what I learned now that I've just turned 84, and I'm so grateful to still be here and open my mouth, that Alzheimer's is one of those things that challenge us in this age, and the cure for it is not always from the pharmaceutical company.
It's not going to happen that way. Those synthetic drugs aren't going to cure.
You need a different foundation, and some of the people that I've been fortunate enough to have run into, including former athletes and elders, they have the keys to the kingdom for me. I just had to sit there and listen. And they filled me up both here and in Africa and different places I've been. I am attracted to the elder. So we got to listen to them. Got to get them all ears and watch them come to life.
Absolutely. This Louis Gossett Jr. We're talking about the Cuban, which is premiering Friday. Make sure you watch it. We got Bridget on the line from Cleveland. She's in Cleveland, Ohio. Good morning, Bridget.
What's up,
Hey, Bridget?
Hey, Bridget.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Mr. Gossett Jr., I am so excited that I get to speak to you and hear your voice in person. I've had a crush on you since I was a little girl when Officer and the Gentleman came out. You were just at your finest right there. I still enjoy watching that movie. I just want you to know I enjoy your body of work so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. 100%. I appreciate it. I can't do without you. Thank you.
Yep, I saw you on CBS Sunday morning. I think it was this past week or the week before. I am a fan.
Last Sunday.
Yep, I am a fan, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
I
for your call.
You. Have a blessed day. Have a very blessed day.
Thank you,
Mr. Gossett. How long have you been considered a sex symbol? I see this. That's the first call we got. Somebody had a crush on you.
Well, leave it to me and my crew since I was been born.
Ever since he played Wendell on the Jeffersons, Sway.
Yes.
Yo, you dug deep.
All the movies I haven't worked a day. It's such a pleasure.
Wow.
What was Sherman Hemsley like? Sherman Hemsley, what was he like to work with?
That was a good buddy. Very good, very talented.
Wow.
Yeah. Did y'all hang out outside of the set?
Oh, we started on Broadway. Started on Broadway in Pearly Victorious. He was in Pearly Victorious, and I was in another play. We hung out. That was our society. We're very close, all of us. Robert Guillaume, Lawrence Fishburne, Sidney Poitier, Ruby, Ozzy. We all hung out together.
Really? What did y'all talk like? What was like a regular conversation? Was it about uplifting the people? Like, what kind of things did y'all debate?
Just like I'm talking to you today. We would debate. I was all ears from the American Negro Theater. A man by the name of Canada Lee, Paul Robeson, Josephine Baker, all of us, Leontine Price, William Warfield. They took care of this kid. I was only 17. And they planted seeds in my system. They fed me, they loved me, and brought me into society. And it stays in my system. And then you take it with you to school, and you see something that's different. You want to know what's wrong with this bitch. Don't you know that I'm here to offer you all this love and this knowledge? And that's where racism comes in, because they don't want you to open your mouth because they're scared that you're going to take over. We have to allay that fear, because we're brothers and sisters. We have to assume our right position in the salvation of mankind, because we have those roots. This had nothing to do with war or conflict.
Louis Gossett Jr., you hear all of this this information that's coming out. I'm just only imagining what it must have been like. You actually founded a movement that's to eradicate racism, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
It's keeping us from being together. I mean, if you can look at the people who don't want racism to go away, and you think it all the way through to the end, right? Normally, you look at opponents all the way to the end. Oh, man. But fear. But if you think about what we have to offer, like you see was in the demonstrations of all the cities a couple of weeks ago, it was beautiful. It was polka dotted. Everybody was there, because it makes sense that we need one another for mutual survival. And that's what's going to happen, whether they like it or not. So that I learned from those Paul Robesons, those Jackie Robinsons, those Lena Horns, those Ethel Waters, and putting it on to you. Maybe 2 or 3 words will stick, and you remember this particular interview. As I pass this on, a system happens in my body. And we learned about this system a long time ago. When you do the right thing and pass on life-giving information, your heart beats wonderfully, your blood pressure goes down, your cancer disappears, and you belong in the palm of God's hand. That was discovered way before America. Now it takes that from mutual salvation. For doing anything else, we all may as well be in this great big airplane, 747 airplane, and it's 30,000 feet. And the plane's not going to crash, right? It's going to crash real quick. People inside the plane are fighting over who's going to be in first class. It no longer matters. We need each other desperately for our mutual survival. And it's important for us to know what that is so we can contribute to the whole.
Louis Gossett Jr., I want to end the interview right there, man, on that high note.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for blessing our airwaves, and I want to encourage everybody to see The Cuban out on the 31st. What a great movie. Congratulations. You did it again. And congratulations on the...
God bless you all.
God bless you. And congratulations on the Primetime Emmy nomination for Watchmen. We'll stay focused, and we'll keep these words. And come back on the show to promote whatever else you're doing next, even if you want to just hang out. Okay?
Well, the next one is about the foster boy, the foster child converts. That's next week. I'll see you then.
Okay, well,
God
you got an invite. God bless you.
Right.
Louis Gossett Jr., give him a big round of applause, man. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
You got it. Okay.
All
God
right.
bless you.
Have a beautiful day. God bless. Wow.